Moving on, in spite of multi-pronged efforts by the most powerful countries across the world to restore peace in war-torn Afghanistan, the Taliban have been relentless in their attacks on civil and security installations. Few weeks back, they stepped up their offensive in a bid to sabotage presidential elections. Flustered by the failure, they further intensified their violence. Now they are killing more people with impunity. The security personnel who are supposed to be protecting civilian walls are dying in dozens. The situation is worsening every day and there seems no light at the end of this precarious tunnel, a report.
Afghanistan is more violent and more unsafe today. With Taliban rapidly gaining control over large swathes of territory, the peace looks unobtainable in near future. Some call it impossible. A hope popped out when the insurgents and the United States were on the cusp of hammering out a deal that would have given a relative relief to civilians. But all was dashed in a moment when President Donald Trump decided to put a plug on the process. Although diplomatic channels have tried to resume the negotiations, nothing tangible has been achieved so far, with the situation only becoming more complex. Pakistan-backed terrorist organizations have proliferated and so have the attacks. Multiple casualties are documented every day.
The situation in Afghanistan is in a flux. Basically, America wants to leave Afghanistan. They are in a hurry. And this message has gone across to all the terrorist groups. So therefore, they want that whatever is the next system, in that they should be predominant and prominent. And that is why there is a tussle going on between the various terrorist groups there, and the sufferers are the people. Killings are on the rise. Taliban, which once agreed to talk with the US, but then US later refused to talk with them, are now asserting themselves again. And the worst part is that Pakistan, despite all the censor from America and from the international community, continues to support Taliban and the Haqqani network, which are the main terrorist groups.
Teasing and challenging the establishment of Afghanistan, the Taliban regularly updates its social media accounts by giving a detailed story of terror and horror. Only 2 days back, the Taliban insurgents stormed a security checkpoint in northern Afghanistan's Kunduz province, killing more than a dozen and injuring several others. And this is not a one-off incident but a routine exercise of terrorists. And it is not just Taliban, but different organizations have been bombing different parts of the country. Last week, more than 60 people were killed in a brutal attack on a mosque in the province, and more than 100 were wounded. No one claimed responsibility for that attack. Peace process hasn't made a move ever since it was called off by the US president.
Peace process has to begin. But peace process has to involve all stakeholders. Nothing can be done by leaving one party and favoring the other. As long as all stakeholders are brought together and they agree to a consensus and a common program, I think peace cannot be ensured in Afghanistan. Peace process must begin and all stakeholders must be brought on the same platform.
9 rounds of talks were held between the United States and the Taliban. Even a draft agreement which sought a gradual departure of US forces from Afghanistan against Taliban not providing safe havens to Al-Qaeda terrorists was prepared. However, in the end, no results were yielded. Deft Russian diplomacy also tried to control the situation through other means but has failed to create any impact thus far. A 60-strong delegation of Afghans, including government officials and representatives of civil society groups, held a second round of intra-Afghan talks with the Taliban in July in Qatar.